Please stop kicking me, Madison Harper screamed, her voice trembling as she pressed herself behind the counter, her arms instinctively raised to shield her face. The restaurant seemed to shrink around her. The polished wood tables, the gleaming silverware, and the warm Edison bulb lights suddenly feeling like walls closing in. The man advancing toward her was the picture of anger and entitlement. Logan Whitman, clad in a crisp, dark designer suit, his cufflinks gleaming under the warm light, took deliberate, heavy steps, his face red with fury. Every inch of his body screamed dominance, the kind of arrogance only wealth and inherited power could buy. "You clumsy idiot! You ruined a $300 jacket!" Logan roared, his voice echoing across Riverbend Bistro, freezing everything in its path. Forks hovered mid-air. Patrons stopped mid-bite. Conversations ceased. Even the soft jazz music in the background seemed to pause as everyone's attention turned to the escalating scene at table 12. Madison had only bumped into his chair by accident while carrying a tray to the next table. A split-second misstep, yet it had triggered the full force of his ego. At 29, Madison Harper was the kind of employee every manager dreamed of. She arrived early, stayed late, and never complained about extra shifts. A single mother, she had been turning every shift into a stepping stone for her dream, a business degree that would help her provide a better life for her 7-year-old daughter, Emma. But in that moment, tears welled in her eyes as she shrank behind the counter, appearing utterly powerless. "People like you shouldn't even be in a place like this," Logan spat, his words sharp and cutting. "Go back to wherever you crawled out of." No one noticed the man sitting at table 23. He was dressed simply, a plain t-shirt, worn jeans, but his posture, his calm gaze, suggested he wasn't just another diner. Ethan Carter, 45, had been quietly observing Madison, the staff, and even Logan on previous visits. There was a calculated calm in him, the kind of composure only someone trained to analyze human behavior could have. Ethan had been coming to Riverbend for 6 months, twice a week, always the same dish, leaving generous tips. Unlike others, he treated everyone with respect, and while the staff thought he was just another friendly customer, he had been quietly studying the dynamics of the restaurant, observing habits, attitudes, and interactions, all for reasons Madison couldn't yet imagine. "Is anyone going to do something, or are we all just going to sit here and let this psycho destroy someone else's life?" Logan shouted, jabbing a finger at Madison. She trembled, trying to maintain some composure, silently crying behind the counter. For a long moment, the restaurant was frozen in time. Madison's fear radiated outward, touching every person present. Patrons glanced at each other uneasily, some instinctively reaching for their phones to record the incident, others simply staring, unsure what to do. The tension was palpable. Then Ethan Carter stood up, not quickly, not theatrically, just a calm, deliberate movement, as if he were casually getting up to pay his bill. But the measured way he rose caught everyone's attention. Even Logan paused mid-rant. "Excuse me," Ethan said, his voice calm but carrying a natural authority. The entire room fell silent. "This has been a misunderstanding here." Logan whirled toward him, irritation flashing across his face. "And who the hell are you? Her boyfriend? Some friend? Mind your own business, pal." "Just someone who's been watching," Ethan replied, his eyes briefly meeting Madison's. Not pity, not indignation, silent recognition. Madison felt a flicker of hope she hadn't dared to feel in months. There was something in Ethan's gaze that told her he understood, not just the immediate situation, but the constant, quiet humiliation she endured every day. Ethan had been observing Logan for weeks, documenting his behavior. He had seen the arrogance, the subtle and not-so-subtle humiliations toward staff, and he had decided that tonight Logan's actions would meet consequences. Logan continued his tirade, gesturing aggressively, But Madison noticed something unusual. He hesitated when he saw Ethan's calm, authoritative presence. It was subtle, but it was there, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. The scene had shifted without anyone realizing it. Madison, terrified minutes ago, now felt a strange mixture of fear and hope. Perhaps this confrontation wasn't going to end with her humiliation. Perhaps justice, in some form, was about to arrive. Logan slammed his hand against the polished wooden table, making silverware jump and clatter. "I told you to get out of my way!" he shouted, pushing Madison back. "People like you don't understand civility. You only respond to force." Madison's heart pounded in her chest. Her palms were sweaty, and the ache in her stomach was unbearable. She had seen moments like this before, but never so public, never so cruel. Every insult, every racial jab now reverberated across the restaurant. Her cheeks burned as some diners shifted uncomfortably in their seats, and a few whispered among themselves. Mr. Graham, the restaurant's manager, finally appeared, hurrying from the back office. His tie was crooked, and his expression betrayed nervousness. "Mr. Whitman, please, let's resolve this calmly," he pleaded, raising his hand slightly. "Calmly?" Logan laughed, the sound hollow and mocking. "This woman ruined a $300 jacket, a jacket worth more than her annual salary. And you want me to be calm?" Madison pressed a trembling hand to her mouth, holding back a sob. She thought about Emma, her little girl, asking why Mommy always came home sad. How could she explain to a 7-year-old that some people despise you simply because of your skin color? "You know what your problem is?" Logan barked, turning to the room, gesturing like he was on a stage. "You think you deserve to be in decent places without earning it. I built my empire from scratch, working 16 hours a day for years. And you don't even know respect." Ethan Carter, quietly standing a few steps away, observed everything. Each movement, each facial twitch, every reaction from Madison, Logan, the manager, and even the other diners. He had spent 6 months observing Logan, not just tonight, but over weeks, cataloging behaviors, habits, and arrogance. He had noticed how Logan's ego was fragile, how he reacted violently when challenged, and how he used fear to mask insecurity. Yet he was equally fascinated by Madison. Her reactions were a study in controlled grace. She didn't scream, didn't retaliate, didn't flinch unnecessarily. She endured insult after insult with quiet dignity. Each breath, each measured step she took communicated strength. Ethan's mind went back to his mother, who had worked as a maid for years, teaching him perseverance and the value of silent endurance. "Do you even realize how much money I bring into this place each month?" Logan roared, almost daring someone to challenge him. "I host corporate events, bring in high-roller clients. One screw-up from your staff, and I could lose thousands." Madison felt a tight knot in her chest. She held her breath as she waited for something to happen, yet the restaurant remained silent. Losing this job meant missing rent, changing Emma's school, and shelving her dreams of starting her own business. Taking a deep breath, she finally spoke, her voice trembling yet firm. "Mr. Graham, I can pay for the jacket. You don't have to deduct it all at once. I can do installments." "You will pay," Logan interrupted, leaning close to her, "and with interest for my lost time." For the first time, Ethan stepped forward, calm but assertive. "Excuse me, maybe there's a better way to handle this situation." Logan turned, flashing a look of irritation and incredulity. "And who are you supposed to be? A concerned citizen? Some random guy in jeans thinking he can lecture me?" Ethan smiled slightly. "I'm someone who understands business, and reputations built on arrogance and fear. They crumble sooner or later." The restaurant's patrons leaned forward slightly, sensing a shift. Even Logan's eyes flickered for a moment with uncertainty. Madison noticed it too. Her pulse raced. Hope was mixing with fear. Could someone actually stand up to this man and turn the tide? Ethan's eyes returned to Madison, meeting hers for a brief second. Not pity, not judgment, recognition, validation. She felt a strange warmth, the tiniest spark of relief she hadn't allowed herself in months. And then Logan continued, shouting over the murmurs of the diners. "I bring in contracts worth tens of thousands. I'm untouchable." Ethan listened patiently, observing. Every gesture, every volume shift, every pause told him about Logan's insecurities and weaknesses. And he had made a plan that would not just defend Madison, but turn the entire restaurant dynamic upside down. Ethan Carter stood in the middle of the restaurant, calm as a Sunday morning, while Logan Whitman fumed like a storm about to break. The noise of cutlery, hushed whispers, and the faint jazz in the background seemed to vanish, swallowed by the aura of authority Ethan radiated. Logan, still seething, sneered. "Look, buddy, who the hell are you anyway? Some self-righteous customer trying to play hero? Mind your business before I make you regret it." Ethan's lips curled into a faint, knowing smile. "Let me introduce myself properly," he said, voice steady and deliberate. "I'm Ethan Carter, CEO of Carter Enterprises. We acquire companies, fix management issues, and make them profitable, ethically profitable." The restaurant seemed to pause. Patrons leaned forward, forks suspended midair, as if waiting for Logan's reaction. Madison's eyes widened. All this time she had thought Ethan was just a friendly regular. Now she realized he was something far more formidable. Logan scoffed, trying to reclaim his control. "Yeah, right. And what's that got to do with me or this little mishap here?" Ethan's gaze didn't waver. "Everything, actually." He looked over at Madison. "And by the way, you've handled yourself remarkably today. Grace under pressure isn't something everyone can pull off." Madison blushed, unsure how to respond, but a sense of calm seeped into her chest. "Listen, Mr. Whitman," Ethan continued, voice firm but controlled. "I've spent the last 6 months observing Riverbend Bistro, not just casually. I've been evaluating its potential for acquisition." The words hit Logan like a lightning bolt. His confident smirk faltered. He had always assumed that appearances and influence protected him. Yet here stood a man in jeans, commanding attention without raising his voice, analyzing every action with precision. "And during my observations," Ethan went on, turning slightly toward the entire restaurant, "I also noticed something important. The most competent, dedicated, and respectful employee in this place has been repeatedly humiliated, publicly, privately, without just cause." Madison felt her stomach flip. He wasn't just defending her. He was framing her value in a way Logan could understand. Logan leaned forward, voice rising. "You've got some nerve standing there and judging me. Who do you think you are, questioning how I treat my people?" Ethan raised a hand slightly, a gesture that silenced Logan mid-rant. "Judgment isn't the point, Mr. Whitman. Observation is. Facts matter. Documentation matters. And sometimes, privilege blinds people to the truth." A hush settled over the restaurant. Madison noticed diners subtly recording the confrontation, their curiosity mounting. Even the waitstaff paused, silently rooting for Madison while the dynamic shifted before their eyes. Ethan's eyes flicked to Madison again, briefly acknowledging her strength and composure. Then his attention snapped back to Logan. "You see, Mr. Whitman, I understand business, influence, and reputation. And tonight, you're about to make a very costly mistake." Logan laughed nervously, trying to reclaim control. "Costly mistake? You're a customer, a guy in jeans. What could you possibly do?" Ethan smiled faintly, like someone savoring a long game of chess. "I'm someone who notices patterns, Mr. Whitman. Patterns of arrogance, entitlement, and abuse of power. And I also notice the people who are silently enduring it, the ones who actually build value." Madison's heart began to beat faster. Could this really be happening? Could a stranger, someone she barely knew, truly be orchestrating a way to hold Logan accountable? Ethan continued, turning slightly to survey the room as if addressing an audience. And tonight, we're going to do more than just correct an injustice. We're going to document it properly. Witnesses, statements, and evidence all collected. Because sometimes the system only works when you make it work. Logan's face flushed red, a mixture of fury and fear creeping in. He wasn't used to being observed, analyzed, and quietly confronted without the ability to intimidate. Madison realized something profound. For the first time in months, she didn't feel like a victim. Something in Ethan's calm, authoritative presence made her feel seen, respected, and most importantly, empowered. Ethan's voice cut through the tense silence. "Mr. Whitman, your actions tonight, and many nights before, have consequences. And you, sir, are about to learn that dignity and competence aren't things you can buy or intimidate. They're earned and defended." Logan opened his mouth to protest, but Ethan's eyes, calm yet piercing, froze him mid-word. Madison noticed how even Logan's habitual arrogance wavered for the first time. Ethan's phone buzzed softly in his pocket, and he retrieved it with calm precision. "Excuse me," he said, his voice steady and professional. "I need to make a quick call." He dialed swiftly, the way someone who is used to running multi-million-dollar operations would, each movement precise, deliberate. "Hey, Amanda," he spoke, voice low but commanding. "We have a situation at Riverbend Bistro. I need you to call our legal advisors immediately." Madison's eyes widened. Amanda? Legal team? She couldn't quite process what was happening. Just minutes ago, she had been cornered, humiliated, and now this, a complete reversal, orchestrated by someone she barely knew. Logan Whitman's eyebrows knitted in confusion. "What's going on now? Are you seriously going to make a phone call while I'm settling this?" Ethan ended the call and looked at Logan, calm as a lake. "Your problems, Mr. Whitman, are about to become far bigger than you imagine." Madison noticed the subtle shift in Ethan's tone, a switch from casual observation to a sharp, businesslike authority. He turned to her, voice gentle but focused. "Madison, could you do me a favor?" he asked. "I need you to document exactly what happened here. Time, place, witnesses, exact words spoken. Can you do that?" Sure. But why?" Ethan smiled faintly, the kind of smile that carried confidence and intent. "Sometimes justice only works when it's documented properly." Logan scoffed loudly. "Justice? You're joking, right? Who the hell are you to lecture me about justice?" Ethan's gaze hardened, unflinching. "Someone who understands reputations built on weak foundations, Mr. Whitman. They crumble faster than you think." Amanda arrived moments later, gliding into the restaurant with the kind of presence that immediately demanded attention. Elegantly dressed, carrying a sleek briefcase, she exuded authority. Patrons instinctively gave her space, whispering under their breath about her composed demeanor. Ethan nodded at her. "Amanda, can you show Mr. Whitman the preliminary findings?" She opened her briefcase with precise movements, removing neatly stacked folders, charts, and photographs. Logan's confident posture faltered as he tried to mask growing unease. Madison watched in awe. All this planning, preparation, and strategic execution. It was far beyond anything she could have imagined. "Mr. Whitman," Amanda began, her voice cool and professional, "these documents outline several instances of labor violations, racial discrimination, and financial misconduct associated with your company over the last 2 years. Logan's face drained of color. "Wait, what? This has to be a mistake." Amanda continued, unfazed. 7 confirmed charges of racial discrimination. 16 employees dismissed without cause after reporting harassment. 3 ongoing lawsuits regarding systematic wage discrepancies and evidence of falsified municipal project participation. Madison felt her jaw drop. The man who had tormented her for months, her humiliation, her fear, was finally facing exposure. Ethan stepped closer to Logan, voice low, calm, but unyielding. "And this, Mr. Whitman, is just the beginning. Privilege doesn't grant immunity. Documentation does." The restaurant was silent now. Patrons held their breath as Logan stammered, This has to be a mistake." Amanda pulled out a tablet, tapping it to life. On the screen, video footage appeared. Logan yelling at black employees. Derogatory remarks. Differential treatment between staff. Clear dates and precise audio. Madison's heart raced as she watched Logan's own arrogance recorded for all to see. "This is invasion of privacy," Logan barked, desperation creeping into his voice. "Nope," Ethan replied, calm as ever. "All in public spaces, verified by our legal team, fully lawful." Madison felt a surge of hope and disbelief. The man who had belittled her, made her feel worthless, was finally facing consequences, not through revenge, but through justice and strategy. Ethan turned to her with a reassuring smile. "Madison, do you see now? Competence and integrity can never be hidden forever. Tonight, you're witnessing the difference between privilege and earned respect." Amanda nodded, gesturing to the evidence laid out. "All findings are ready, and our legal team is en route. Mr. Whitman, your actions tonight, and many nights before, have consequences." Logan's usual smirk was gone. His confident posture crumbled as he glanced around the room, noticing diners holding their phones, recording, watching, silently witnessing his downfall. Madison's chest swelled with relief, gratitude, and a flicker of triumph. For the first time in months, she felt seen, not as a powerless employee, but as someone worthy of respect, someone whose dignity mattered. And in that moment, Ethan Carter's plan had begun to unfold. The humiliation Madison had endured for so long was about to transform into justice. Not petty revenge, but a complete and irreversible recalibration of power. The restaurant air was thick with tension. Logan Whitman's usual arrogance faltered as Amanda placed stacks of neatly organized documents on the table. Madison stood nearby, still trembling, but now with a spark of hope igniting inside her. Ethan stepped forward, his voice calm yet commanding, cutting through the hum of whispers and the faint jazz background. "Mr. Whitman, I think it's time you understand the full scope of tonight's events. Not only your actions, but your choices." He scoffed, attempting to regain composure. "Choices? You think you can lecture me about choices? I built my empire. I run companies. I've got influence. Who are you really?" Ethan's lips curved into a slight smile. "I'm someone who notices patterns, Mr. Whitman. Patterns of arrogance, entitlement, and abuse. And I notice people like Madison who show grace, skill, and dedication under pressure." Madison's eyes widened. She could hardly believe what she was hearing. Ethan wasn't just defending her. He was acknowledging her worth, publicly, to the very man who had humiliated her for months. Ethan turned to Amanda. "Amanda, could you please present the acquisition proposal to Madison and Mr. Whitman?" Amanda clicked a button on her tablet. The screen lit up, showing detailed figures, financial reports, contracts, and terms of acquisition for Riverbend Bistro. Madison stepped closer, reading with wide eyes. You're buying this place?" she asked, voice trembling. Ethan nodded. "Not just buying. I'm offering you a 35% stake, Madison. You'll manage the complete transformation of this establishment. This isn't charity. This is recognizing competence, integrity, and leadership." Logan's jaw dropped. "Wait, what? This is insane. You can't just... This is a setup, a humiliation." Ethan shook his head, calm and deliberate. "No, Mr. Whitman. This isn't a setup. It's justice. The humiliation is a natural consequence of your own arrogance. You've repeatedly misused power and belittled people who didn't deserve it. Tonight, accountability arrives." Amanda added, her voice steady. "Mr. Whitman, our findings also include financial discrepancies, gambling debts of $180,000, misappropriation from payroll, falsified municipal project participation. Your reputation, influence, and power were built on shaky foundations. That's all documented." Logan stumbled back, visibly shaken. He muttered something under his breath, trying to comprehend the magnitude of what was happening. For the first time, he wasn't in control. Madison, meanwhile, felt a surge of pride and disbelief. Ethan wasn't just doing this for her. He was elevating competence, protecting dignity, and setting an example of ethical business. Ethan turned to her again, voice gentle but authoritative. "Madison, do you accept the proposal? Do you want to transform this place into something that honors hard-working people like you?" Tears welled in her eyes, the weight of months of stress and humiliation finally lifting. "Yes," she said, voice strong, filled with determination. "I accept." Amanda smiled, pulling up the formal contracts. "Everything is ready. This is official. Once signed, you have a legitimate stake and management authority over Riverbend Bistro." Logan's face twisted in disbelief. You planned this to humiliate me?" Ethan shook his head slowly, calm as ever. "No, Mr. Whitman. We planned this to create justice. The consequences, you see, are direct results of your own arrogance." Madison glanced at the restaurant staff. Some of them had tears in their eyes. Others smiled with relief. The patrons who had recorded earlier murmured approval. For the first time, she felt the weight of validation, not just personal, but communal. Ethan's gaze softened slightly as he addressed Madison. "Madison, this is more than a job or a stake in a restaurant. It's an opportunity to lead, inspire, and create an environment where hard work and integrity matter. Are you ready?" Madison nodded firmly, the resolve shining in her eyes. "Yes, I'm ready." Logan, meanwhile, realized the full extent of his downfall. His arrogance, privilege, and attempts to belittle others had led him here, powerless, exposed, and irrelevant. The legal documents, video evidence, and now the formal acquisition were all concrete proof. He had underestimated people he thought were inferior, and it had cost him everything. Ethan finally turned, addressing the entire restaurant. "This is how competence and character win in the end, regardless of privilege or power. Let this be a lesson, not just for Mr. Whitman, but for everyone watching." The restaurant erupted in applause. Madison's heart swelled as she realized she had gone from powerless humiliation to empowered leadership in a matter of hours. The transformation wasn't just professional, it was personal, ethical, and irrevocable. Logan Whitman staggered out of Riverbend Bistro, his face pale, beads of sweat rolling down his forehead. The city skyline outside seemed colder, harsher, as if reflecting the sudden collapse of his influence. For years he had wielded privilege like armor, but tonight that armor had been shattered. Inside, Madison lingered, watching Ethan and Amanda organize the remaining documents. The staff, once tense and fearful, now moved with a sense of purpose. The diners had quietly begun to leave, but whispers of admiration for Madison's composure and Ethan's strategic brilliance lingered in the air. Madison finally allowed herself to breathe, tears of relief sliding down her cheeks. I can't believe this," she said softly, looking at Ethan. "You really did all this? For me?" Ethan's expression softened, but his eyes still carried the sharp focus of a strategist. "Not just for you, Madison. For everyone who suffers in silence while people like Whitman abuse power. Competence, dignity, and perseverance deserve recognition and protection." Across town, Logan's phone buzzed relentlessly. Emails from legal teams, clients retracting contracts, and public announcements about ongoing lawsuits cascaded in. His empire, carefully built on privilege, misrepresentation, and intimidation, was unraveling. He had become a cautionary tale in real time. Arrogance and abuse, no matter how well hidden, eventually caught up with him. Back at Riverbend Bistro, Madison took her first steps as managing partner. The layout of the restaurant felt different now. Not just a workspace, but a hub of opportunity. Posters went up about training programs, schedules for staff mentorship, and announcements about new community partnerships. Young people from the neighborhood, previously without guidance, were now learning culinary and business skills. Ethan watched quietly as Madison coordinated her first team meeting, her natural leadership emerging with grace. She gave clear instructions, acknowledged every staff member's strengths, and created a vision that resonated with everyone in the room. Even the former employees who had endured similar humiliation under Logan Whitman were now thriving under her guidance. "Mom, can I help check the online orders?" Emma asked, sitting at a table near the counter with her school tablet open. Madison smiled, the warmth in her chest expanding. "Of course, sweetheart. You're part of this, too." Ethan handed Madison a stack of certificates. 12 more students completed the training program this week. 3 already secured positions at other restaurants in the city. Madison's pride swelled. She had not only survived humiliation, she had transformed it into opportunity. She realized she possessed a natural aptitude for leadership and management, qualities Ethan had recognized long ago, and now the community would benefit from them. Meanwhile, Logan's downfall continued to make headlines. Investigations revealed systemic racial discrimination, financial misconduct, and corruption within his former companies. Friends from exclusive clubs avoided him. His wife filed for divorce, claiming both reputation and remaining assets. For the first time, he experienced life without shortcuts or inherited privilege. Madison reflected on the transformation before her. "A year ago, I just wanted him to respect me. Now I see that people like him only stop harming others when they lose the power to do it." Ethan nodded, his eyes surveying the vibrant activity around him. The best revenge isn't destroying someone out of spite. It's creating something so remarkable that their actions become irrelevant. Emma looked up, curiosity sparkling. "Mom, why do some people think they're better than others?" Madison paused, thinking carefully. "Because they confuse privilege with merit. They believe they're special because of luck, not because they've earned it." Ethan smiled, quietly proud. He had invested in many ventures over the years, but none had transformed lives as profoundly as Madison's journey. She had turned humiliation into purpose, adversity into leadership, and injustice into opportunity. As the sun set over Riverbend Bistro, Madison looked out at families enjoying dinner, employees thriving in their roles, and young people learning new skills. She had not only survived a personal attack on her dignity, she had built a beacon of hope, proving that true justice always recognizes and elevates confidence, regardless of background. Madison turned to Ethan with a grateful smile. This is just the beginning, isn't it?" Ethan nodded. "Exactly. And the most important thing, Madison, is that when you achieve something through your own efforts, no one can take it away. Whitman lost everything because he never truly earned anything. You've built a legacy." The restaurant buzzed with energy, a symbol of triumph, justice, and empowerment. Madison had turned the darkest humiliation into the brightest opportunity. And as families, staff, and students thrived around her, she knew that true justice was not revenge. It was creating a future so strong that the past couldn't harm it. 6 months later, Riverbend Bistro had transformed completely. The restaurant wasn't just a dining spot anymore. It had become the Riverbend Community Restaurant and Training Center, a hub of opportunity, education, and empowerment. Madison adjusted her crisp blazer, surveying the lively scene. Young trainees hustled behind the counters, practicing culinary techniques under careful supervision. The sound of sizzling pans, the hum of conversation, and laughter filled the air. Families from the neighborhood enjoyed meals, chatting with smiling staff who once had faced harassment under Logan Whitman's regime. Emma, Madison's daughter, was nearby, juggling homework and checking online orders. "Mom, can I help with the app again?" she asked eagerly. Madison smiled, kneeling to her daughter's level. "Of course, sweetheart. You're part of this now." Her heart swelled with pride. 6 months ago, she had been hiding behind a counter, tears streaming, humiliated. Now she was a managing partner in a business that reflected her vision, her ethics, and her resilience. Ethan walked in carrying a stack of certificates. 12 more people completed the training program this week. 3 already landed positions at other restaurants in the city, he reported, his voice calm but proud. Madison nodded. It's incredible to see people thrive. This is exactly what I wanted to build. Ethan's gaze swept over the restaurant. You've transformed not just this space, Madison, but everyone who steps through these doors. That's true leadership. Across town, Logan Whitman faced the harsh reality of his choices. His companies were bankrupt, employees relocated, and lawsuits ongoing. Former friends and exclusive club associates avoided him. His wife filed for divorce, leaving him with a fraction of what he once claimed. For the first time, he worked honestly as a low-level salesman, earning respect only through effort, an experience he had never known. Back at Riverbend, Madison paused to reflect. A year ago, all I wanted was respect, she told Emma. And now I realize that people like Whitman never change. They only stop harming others when they lose the power to do it. Ethan, observing mother and daughter, nodded approvingly. The best revenge isn't cruelty. It's building something so powerful that their actions become irrelevant. Emma looked up, wide-eyed. Mom, why do some people think they're better than others? Madison thought carefully. They confuse privilege with merit. They think they're special because of luck. The truth is, they're lucky because they're special. Or in other words, being special is never enough without effort. Ethan smiled softly. He had invested in many businesses, but nothing had touched him like Madison's journey. She had not just learned to run a business, she had become a leader who inspired others, a beacon for the community. Madison straightened, taking a deep breath. Today, she was scheduled to speak at a local school about female entrepreneurship. She would share her journey from humiliation, discrimination, and doubt to empowerment, leadership, and success. The restaurant buzzed around her. Families enjoying meals, staff confident and thriving, young trainees focused on their new skills. The space had become a symbol of dignity, opportunity, and the transformative power of hard work. Madison turned to Ethan, gratitude shining in her eyes. This feels bigger than I imagined, not just for me, but for everyone here. Ethan placed a hand gently on her shoulder. It is. And the most important lesson is this: when you achieve through your own efforts, no one can take it away. Whitman lost everything because he never truly earned anything. You have built a legacy. The sun set over Riverbend, casting a warm glow across the bustling restaurant. Madison watched families laugh, employees work with purpose, and trainees learning skills that would shape their future. She had turned humiliation into purpose, injustice into opportunity, and in the process created something far greater than herself. As she prepared for her school talk, Emma tugged at her hand. Mom, I can't wait for the kids to hear your story. Madison smiled, her heart full. Remember this, Emma, no matter where you come from or what obstacles you face, competence, integrity, and perseverance always win in the end. Riverbend had become a citywide benchmark, a model for social programs and business ethics. Politicians visited to learn about the community initiative. Business people wanted to replicate the model. And the local community had finally found a space where dignity and opportunity worked hand in hand. For Madison, for Emma, for every young person learning behind the counters, the message was clear. True justice isn't revenge, it's empowerment, action, and building something so extraordinary that the past no longer matters.